want to talk about this ADOS movement. I know it's been kind of old, but my 2 cents in this. So, American descendants of slavery, of any individual who can trace their ancestors from American soil, that really contribute into this country, and therefore a lot of political regimens, they can utilize that and receive reparations. Now, we had people like Dr. Umar Johnson, something he was talking, had different talking points about this. People who have like black leaders like Dr. Sebi, who was an individual who actually healed people through herbs, and he was doing this since the 1980s, healing people with cancer, AIDS, human immune viruses, and he had before he was killed in Honduras, he had people just step up and different witnesses when he was getting sued, because how can this man do this without a without some type of medical license, right? But the ADOS movement, was reading an interesting article from the Medium. It was from this professor. He was born of native land. It had a really dead comparison though, because the people who were exempt from the Jamaicans or the Native Americans or Haitian descent, and we gotta understand that as African Americans, people who look black came from all over. Came from Cuba. We came from different parts of the world, but we still contribute to this country. So, for instance, you have like Louis Farrakhan, who made it very popular in the Muslim community, I would say the 1940s and the 1960s, and a lot of African Americans benefit from those programs, right? Malcolm X as well. You have because he was from a Haitian descent, actually, Louis Farrakhan. You have Frederick Douglass. He went to Haiti to actually become a minister, and then Haiti is actually a country where Africans travel to actually to escape and have freedom and to be productive, man. So after Louis Toussaint, he gave the ability for them to be an independent country, and we benefit from different immigration, man. Now, other ethnic groups had their different fair share. They had shared obstacles, like the Jewish Americans during the Holocaust and World War II, but they were aided by the government as well. And then they had reparations on the Asians Americans as well. They come from different cultures. The Chinese, they were enslaved as well. But at the main thing, stream of things, from the whole 40 acres and a mule that the Africans did not receive, it's about time that 2019, the whole political regimen, we want reparations. Kamala Harris is from Jamaican descent, and she's was a attorney at this time, and she's running for the presidential election. And my thing is this: with the whole ADOS movement, I hope this don't be no type of like just a movement that people just use in order to receive money or receive some type of political gain, or a lot of politicians, aspiring politicians, taking advantage of. Because we had the Black Lives Matter that was really funded by George Soros, so we gotta kind of understand, like, okay, who's funding the ADOS movement? Is this just another a political thing that people just want to get behind on? It's just another talking point that's not going to get us anywhere, because statistically speaking, 30% of Black American households are led by single mothers. We can talk about the welfare system, things that we benefit from in 1960 through Lyndon B. Johnson's presidency. And I'm just thinking about this as well, that if we just going to exempt people from Jamaican descent, like Marcus Garvey, who created the whole Wall Street, and then Frederick Douglass had the Union and Garrison, and he created his own different banking system after slavery for people to actually have different jobs, man, and the ability to purchase land, then our history would be tainted, I just feel like. And the thing is, are we gonna really trace, like, how can we really know that all of our ancestors just came from Africa and did contribute to a lot of things? And I'm just thinking that with the whole reparations, I do believe that African Americans should get that, but at the same time, this is going to be very beneficial to us, or this is just another, cry me or complaining technique about this. So we got to be really strategic about this as a people, man, because I was talking to BMT about this. Of course, a black man has an $80 billion spending power, and most of that money is not really contributing to the community. It's not multiplying as well. And I would love to have this money for, like, we have like some type of political representation. We can start our own Black Alliance group and have other individuals use that money to actually get individuals, help individuals that's in redlining industries or redlining geographic locations, so they can actually be able to be approved by loans, to get business loans, to get mortgage loans, and different things like that, man, and accumulate wealth. Because back into my last video, the redlining, yeah, it can be very difficult, and the projects in the ghettos of America is extremely designed to economically oppress people of color for the most part. I mean, the Flint water crisis, You know, 70 that's a 70% black population, and they're suffering. They don't even have good clean water, right? And then, you know, just things that goes on a day-to-day basis, experimenting on this is helping us, it's killing our health. Are we going to use this money to actually help with people who couldn't afford health care? You know, that's the descendants of slavery, man, that actually have paperwork to defend this. And, you know, the ADOS movement, it has to be very organized. I don't know if we need ahead of this. Maybe, you know, Candace Owens, she's doing something like Brexit, but, you know, or this is just another a reason, a talking point. You had like Yvette Carnell and more. This has been going on all social media. This has been very popular, okay? And, you know, many, you know, black activists and so I saw a lot of Pan-Africanists been kind of upset about this because they like, okay, well, this is very hypocritical, because if you're just going to send people from different cultures, but they contribute to a lot in American history, especially for blacks, then, you know, this is invalid. This wouldn't make any sense. So, I mean, I don't know, but I mean, I really want to see this a potential movement. But as we as African Americans, though, I mean, we were the indigenous people that came here, and we pretty much already was here, and we have a little Cherokee in our blood. So I mean, we travel from to and fro. We travel like everywhere, and like through the Moors to enslave the Europeans and all this thing. So, but I mean, this is a move that could be taken serious, but are we really just going to go by the complexions of African American? Are we going to really address the issues, you know, the police brutality, you know, during to law enforcement? Are we going to address that, you know, the mortgage loans, you know, the redlining that goes on, the high interest rates that economically oppress people? And two, we can go on by ourselves too as well, that some gangsters and stuff in the ghetto, it's a really just a designed place for demonic spirits to attach to people in order for them to do crazy things and not love their neighbor and not loving themselves, and just going and just not abiding by the God's laws. And that's a whole nother thing as well, because you can be a pawn of a cursed people if you disobey his commands. And that's an individual thing, but 59% of African Americans attend Baptist churches as well. Are we going to be held in these pastors accountable for our tithes and things that we do? Like, are they, this is going to be a certain percentage that's going to help individuals who contribute to the church, but it's going to help them, you know, accumulate wealth in a way, like, you know, like starting up education businesses, educational opportunities, you know, the like school systems, and building up different schools that was turned down, and you could turn it into recreation centers or turn it into like learning centers. Are we going to hold those type of people accountable that's doing good in our communities, or that's a so-called leader, a spiritual leader in our communities as well, instead of just taking money away from us and we just continuously do the same thing like turkey dinners and stuff like that, man? So I mean, you know, with Dr. Claude Anderson, I think he's from a different race as well, but he said he was economics, you know. So I think if you Thomas Sawyer, we don't know, but I just feel like, you know, this could be a dangerous thing if we don't play our cards right with this. I mean, if we're going to take this to the Supreme Court, should African Americans get reparations, those who can prove themselves their descendants of slaves. But I mean, right now, we don't really have a good economic stronghold as much as possible. I mean, we still going on with the whole, you know, people just getting killed, people who achieve success through the ghetto, got out the ghetto, and, you know, not coming back, or some people that came back and end up perishing, and then their business end up dying, no one's not taking over. It can be a lot of those things. So we have to respect our skill sets as well, you know, because some of that is a huge problem. But the ADOS movement, American Descendants of Slavery, it can really work out. It can work out, but we gotta have the right representation of people that's gonna back it up. And who's gonna be? Who is it? You know, it's gonna be these people, you know, that had great talking points, like Dr. Umar Johnson. Who knows? I mean, we gotta hold this accountable, because I really feel like the ghetto is pretty much just a way for the leftists and the people, you know, that's left politicians to experiment on, and to just use the oppression of people to use their talking points in order to get votes. And then when they get in office, they're really not going to do anything for the people, because they pretty much believe in this force the victim mentality of those people that live in those type of vicinities in America. Because if you're oppressed, if you're not rising up, Democrats are pretty much trained to keep you there, and so you can continuously be dependent on the government, and they can create laws and regulations that you stay dependent on the government. And that's a little difference between the Republicans that feel like, you know, lacing up your own bootstraps. But for the most part, you know, I think, you know, some politicians that, many politicians that believe and they live in the left and the Democrats, they want people in those ghettos to not rise up, to really not to accumulate wealth. And I got to think about this too. The middle class in the United States was created during the 1940s. You know, of course, in the GI Bill after World War II. Americans became much the people who served the war want to get educated. You know, they're able to start businesses, GI program, they got VA home loans, and so that was pretty much the epitome of the middle class and the success of that. And due to government assistance, man, I mean, it helped out a lot. I mean, they was able to get engineering degrees, start businesses after the war. They had different cures for PTSD. I mean, this is the type of things that we need. And I feel like, you know, if ADAS get reparations, then maybe, you know, if the right person has the right agenda, instead of just spending the money frivolously on materialistic things, we can really kind of eliminate a lot of the gaps of this, like, you know, the hunger, the poverty, building up abandoned homes, man, and then just rent them out and innovate them and renovate them, and just put, you know, people who can barely afford it homes, or, you know, just give them a low rate. I mean, we can really develop our own real estate you know, companies, different law firms, I mean, different people that can represent us in courts if we do this, you know, policing ourselves. But at the end of the day, you know, we have to, you know, collectively come together and sit this down with the right person. And that's my only thing about this with the whole ADAS movement. So I'm a little open-minded on this. I'm not going to really bash it, but this is something that we got to really understand, you know, and we got to write out an agenda. If we really want to go by, if we can successfully trace where our ancestors came from in America, hey, this is what we need to do. This is what we need for our communities to prosper. Boom, like that. You know, at the end of the day, if not, this can go wrong for us. So the ADAS movement, it's hit and there, hit and miss. But that's pretty much how I really feel about this, man. So you guys tell me your thoughts on this, man. You know, in the under the description box, man, in the comment section, man, because, you know, this is a really serious political movement, though. But some people was kind of offended about this, like, you come from a Jamaican descent, and, you know, I can't really have no type of contribution into African American the struggle or the culture itself. W.E.B. Du Bois, I mean, you gotta understand, he got his degree in the Fisk University, and then he went to the University of Berlin, and got his degree in Harvard University, and only landed a job at Wilberforce University. You know, so of course we go on tracing lines through the Jim Crow, the lynching, all these things that white people had to overcome, and the obstacles. But and he was from Haitian descent, and he did great things. So Booker T. Washington as well. So I mean, the skill sets and the trades that can be developed, but we gotta play our cards with the ADAS movement. So that's all I had to say, man. I'm gonna have the link in the description box of the media. It's called Medium app. Shout out to the professor. I'm gonna give him the credit for that too as well. Gave me a lot of interesting ideas. But that's all I have to say. You guys continue to like, comment, subscribe. I'm out. Deuces.